The stories contained in this podcast are the recollections of the guests we've invited onto the show. We are an outlet for people to share their truths, and we accept no legal responsibilities for the stories contained herein.
I'm Kendra Sheets.
And I'm Rich Gill.
And this is Enough, a podcast that aims to shine light into the darkened corners of the music industry while discussing the ways we can and should improve ourselves and, in turn, our community. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Enough podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kendra Sheets.
I'm your other host, Rich Gill.
And today we are so very lucky to have someone on this podcast that I am so excited to talk to. It's interesting to have internet friends and then see them live, but I've never met them before, but possibly have been in the same room as them before because we all went to shows in the same places, kind of. But today we have María Chaos on the show. María, would you like to give us a little bit of information about you, how you got involved in music in general, and a little bit about Dollfest, which is your baby?
Oh my gosh. Well, hello. I feel so honored that I'm on here. A little confused as to why, because I'm not special.
But we love you. So
oh, thank you. I love you guys too. I'm just kind of a little bedazzled right now. All right. So the first question was how I got involved with music. So I played violin when I was younger. I did dance. I sang. I still sing, which is super exciting. Potential new band project happening. So stay tuned for that in probably the next 8-ish months.
Newsflash.
Yeah. And how I got involved with you want to call it the rock and roll scene just because, there's so many umbrella genres as well as subgenres. I attempted a band when I was 18 the very first time and it didn't work. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had always listened to music. My very first CD that I bought myself from my Hot Topic paycheck money, because that was my very first job.
Yeah.
At the local record store, which REP doesn't exist. It's a bank now. And I know, it's so sad.
Capitalism.
Oh God, I hate it so much. And it was the Flogging Molly Swagger CD, which obviously to a lot of people may not be true punk, let alone even Irish punk, but whatever it was like my gateway. I definitely did go through some personal hardships between the ages of 18 and 24. And even though I would listen to the music, I wasn't really hearing it. I knew what it was about, but it was just there were so many other things in my life that I didn't find the healing factor until after that, of which I needed it probably more than I needed it during the time when I was just numb for these several years of my life. And I've kind of dealt with a little bit of imposter syndrome in the back of my mind for all those years because, as a kid, you're supposed to get into punk and that's when you're supposed to be in it. And I mean, one of my favorite bands, actually the Wild Jumps who played Dollfest, said one time at a local show that I went to back in Portland when I still lived there was, punk will always be there for you. And I thought that was really beautiful. And it's always stuck with me. So it always kind of helped heal me in that sort of sense. And, it's there's so many music genres out there. I can't tell you that there's really any one that I dislike. And I kind of go through phases, even throughout the day. I listen to one genre all the time. And then I'm you know what? I'm done with that one. And then I go to another one and I'm always looking for new music, or I'll just play the same song over and over and over again for the entire day.
Yep.
Yeah. So going into Dollfest, which I just mentioned a second ago, it came from just...
Tell us what Dollfest is.
Oh, right. Because not everyone knows. So Dollfest is an all femme-fronted, all femme-produced and run music festival that's all ages. It's inaugural fest date, the first weekend in March this year. So just a couple months ago out in Berkeley, California. And it was a really beautiful, really special event. And yeah, it is definitely the most blood, sweat, and tears I've ever put into anything in my life. And it was something that I still am kind of in shock that it happened, but I'm also so fueled for my fire is so fueled right now to continue on with it. And we've already made announcements for the next one and we're starting to expand and there's more announcements on what that's going to include. So we have just only begun.
I would imagine it feels a lot like a wedding where you're like, I mean, I'm not married, but like from what I've seen on movies and reality shows, where everyone basically like spends a ton of time just going through stuff over and over and planning and everything to like the smallest minute detail. And then it happens and you're like, okay, it's over. Wait, it's over? Wait, where did it go? Like, was it good? It was good, I think, right? Like, okay, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I think I had like an emotional hangover for at least 3 weeks post it. I mean, I don't think I like truly slept well for the entirety of the festival. And then like a week after that, I don't think I slept very well. And then I finally went on vacation and said, okay, I think I'm ready to go back into normalcy, which I, tiptoed my way into. And then it does still feel like, yeah, I am still completely in shock that it happened. I actually have a very low, small resume of like what I've put together in the past, and it's never been that big. And I come from like a number of different types of backgrounds, or I've like learned by seeing other people, either have successes, failures, things like that, or like even said like this is something that they would do better. And I mean, I've got a whole list of all the above as well. And I just wanted to do something about all of these old white man bands, which don't get me wrong, we love all of you. But I get sick and tired.
But we love some of them.
Yeah, they're all right.
I got so sick and tired of watching them put all of this effort into putting these shows together and then say on the mic, like, we need more femmes and queers and people of color on these stages. And I'm like, then why is your entire lineup not what you're asking for? And they're all in your audience. So I wanted to bring the audience to the stage.
I don't think a lot of people, the general public, realize, and coming from someone who spends a lot of time putting on a film festival, the preparation is like 11 months up to the show, and you're dealing with so many things. Like, you're advancing however many bands to when they should show up, if they're getting a sound check, what their backline is. You're figuring out parking, you're figuring out catering. Like, there's all these things that people don't realize go into just like a band playing on stage for 25 or 45 minutes, and just the year-long prep that goes into a 1 or 2 or 3 day festival. And then when it's done, it's not like, oh, all right, that's it, we don't have to worry about it. Like, almost immediately you're thinking about the next year and continuing. So it's like a nonstop thing that I don't think people really understand.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I started putting this together and getting this really incredible amount of help because, I mean, I didn't do any of this by myself by any means, but it started in March of 2024 and it premiered in March of 2025. And I mean, every day was used towards putting together all of those pieces.
You were living in Portland. Now you're back in the Bay Area. I think you were in the Bay Area before, then went to Portland, then came back. Is that right?
I unfortunately grew up in Stockton, California. And if any of you know what that is and understand my pain, 209 reps over here, but I got rid of my 209 number as fast as I could about over 10 years ago. And I had moved to Portland in 2018. I keep saying I lived there for 9 years, but it was only because the 2 years before that I was always out there visiting, but full time 7 years. And then I had like a quick stint in San Diego, which didn't work. It wasn't my thing, and went back to Portland immediately. But during that journey, actually, from driving back from San Diego back to Portland, actually was what got me the folks who wanted to be a part of Adultfest to make it happen.
I was going to ask exactly how you, in Portland in 24, helped or basically did the majority of the work to set up and book and line up bands in a completely different city, let alone a completely different state, and how challenging that must be.
Oh yeah, it was absolute ass. It was hard. I don't recommend it. There's unfortunately a little bit of a darkness as to why it happened the way that it did and where it did. I was dating someone at the time, and I was actually helping this person with their music festival in Portland. And it was lineup was really awesome. And I had started kind of getting a little bit of traction and some confidence, like, oh man, like I could do something like this. I don't know what. And I did all of that also from San Diego and not from Portland. Because, I mean, this person is not really well known to be the best business person, which this person has also even admitted to me. And I came up with this idea, Dollfest, I kid you not, out of nowhere. I was just driving along and I thought, wow, there are no femme-fronted music festivals anymore that I know of. Idea. And that was it. And the word Dollfest again came out of thin air. He and I were in the car because we were together. We were going to go on this like cute little road trip from San Diego to Portland. And he found out about it. And the first thing out of his mouth when I told him what it was, and I wanted some support. And there was a friend of his out in the Southern California area where I was like, hey, would you mind introducing me to her? And his immediate answer was, I knew it. I knew you were just using me for my connections.
Oh, God.
And I broke up with him the next morning officially, and he canceled the music festival that he and I were planning together.
Whoa.
No one we would run in similar circles. I spent a lot of time out in LA. I know a bunch of people in San Diego. I spent time in Seattle. I visit Portland a bit, but like it's the same kind of West Coast music scene. Like more or less the same crew up and down. Right. And like Rich and I, same thing. Chicago, Minneapolis, like Michigan, all these areas, like we all kind of know each other. There is not one person that's high and mighty enough that any of us knows that we're using for connections that we couldn't get off of Facebook or a quick Google search. So fuck off with that shit. There's like, no one here is like some sort of like, I mean, it's so easy to Instagram message someone, like, what the fuck? If you think that's like what someone's doing, like, why?
I've spent a fair amount of time in Portland in the like late 2010s, and it was all basement shows. Like no one was like, huge enough to...
We're not selling out arenas. This is not, you know.
I mean, this particular person like offers like a pretty unique-ish offer. Bands get to play like 4 songs and they're recorded live, and then they get all of that video footage almost like it looks supposed to look like kind of like a show. Mm-hmm. And then all that live recording is edited and sounds really good. I mean, it's cool, but post breakup there are a lot of things, a lot of realizations, as well as a lot of things that people told me that are not positive about this person, and a lot of stuff I was in denial about as well.
I'm so happy that the answer was the what it was, and not secret, like, I'm gonna take that idea and like steal it from the woman, and then as a man book an all femme lineup.
Oh, that would have been something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you were able to still take your idea and then bring it to fruition as 100% you, with no assistance from, anyone besides the people that you decided to bring into your inner circle to help you and help, support you through this process.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, texted me and said, hey, what happened? Because it was just like post on Instagram that this was canceled. It was like, a couple emails started going out, like a couple Facebook messages started going out that I was still like connected with. And I'm like, I'm just trying to wash my hands of this. I'm like, I just want to be done with this, because this is like, I've now discovered that this is the most insecure human being that I have ever met in my life, and I work with middle schoolers, if that says anything. And a friend of mine had messaged me and said, hey, what happened? And I told him the whole story. And then when I was in the Bay Area, he introduced me to somebody who was like the first person that was like, yeah, we're doing this. And that was it. So oddly enough, the darkness of this is like what really kind of fueled this, because I'm a realist. I don't like doing the whole like what ifs, or like, what would have happened if like this had been said or not said or whatever, but it happened, and it's for the best thing that I've ever done with my life, and also the stupidest thing, because it is so much work, but it's also kind of easy when it's something that you're really passionate about.
Were bands on board immediately when you sort of started reaching out to them and or was it a little bit of like, oh, this is like the first time this fest has happened, we're like, sort of hesitant about doing it, or were they like, fuck yeah, this sounds great, let's fucking sign us up?
I would say there were a lot of fuck yeahs. I would say some of the booking agents were some of the booking agents that I had spoken to were maybe a little bit more hesitant just because of that, which I totally get from a business perspective, which I now have learned quite a lot about, since doing this journey. But at the same time, I'm like, come on, just be a part of this. Like, it's going to be fun, damn it. But since then, I have had a lot of people like reach out. I mean, I now get probably messages every other day from bands that just really want to be a part of this, or they want to reach out and say like, hey, if you need anything. I get folks saying like, I would really love to help. Do you need any volunteers? I mean, I'm trying to not only just be an event, I'm trying to put together this beautiful, like safe, fun community where you just get to like meet your friends that you haven't met yet at this event or like other events. And I now have this thing, called like the Dollfest fam, which I've been trying to really coin because, yeah, there's other festivals out there where it's like, yeah, there's like Facebook groups and stuff like that, or like Facebook boards and stuff. But do you actually ever really talk to those people more than just outside of that festival? So that's sort of what I'm trying to curate is, like, oh, let's like, how many times can we get the Dollfest, fam together, things like that. So. And I've actually had a couple people message me and say like, look, the Dollfest fam is back together. And it's really beautiful to see. Another thing is that I feel like because the music scene can be kind of like the way that it is, which is not really a great explanation, but
if you're listening to enough, like they all know what it is. It's fine.
Yeah.
If you've made it this far in like the last 5 years of our podcast, we all know what you're talking about.
80, however many episodes
yeah.
And it can be very welcoming, but it also can necessarily like not be. And I really want to go against that to where like, if you're going to go to a Dollfest event, like, you're going to go to just this place where everyone's going to be super excited and wants to meet everyone and just have fun and be safe on top of that and like find a community. And I've been to so many festivals where that either hasn't happened or it's been a little bit difficult. But then there's ones where I have felt that, and it has been, like mixed gender, and that's how it always should be. But the majority of festivals are not like that. And that's what I wanted to change, is to be another one that is like that.
You literally just answered the next question I wanted to ask, which was, there's 1 million music festivals and 1,000 punk festivals, and what sort of sets Dollfest apart from the rest of them. There's also a bunch of festivals who they may have started out one way, being like, we're going to be all inclusive, and it's like just this big family, this community. But then as they sort of grow, or like different people get involved, it becomes something else and loses sight of what it initially was.
Yeah.
And it's great that there are other festivals kind of coming up to take that space that maybe they left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are still a good amount of festivals, especially in like the punk space, where, they've never sold out. They're still independent. And that's definitely something that's also in my mind, is that I never want to sell out. I want to be able to be, and not just, me, but like, just like everyone as a collective, like still be individual, still be independent, and just be yourself and be loved for it.
We've had so many conversations over the course of the podcast about kind of the othering of like punk, right? Like there's the gender aspect of it, there's the race aspect of it, and like it for a very long time has been a straight white dude's game. And like we all just kind of learned to accept that. Like that's what we were raised on. And we didn't really think, and it's interesting to me because what the genre is and what so much of the music cultivates is asking questions and trying to be the other and fill in the spaces to make sure that the marginalized are being equalized to, brought up to the same levels as everyone else. All I do whenever I talk about this is just like Dead Kennedys in my head on loop, just like over and over.
It's 7 seconds for me, like
7
not just
seconds.
boys
Yeah.
fun.
See, everyone's got some, but they're also like mostly white dudes.
Right,
but
exactly.
I'm pretty sure when I had that revelation about like hearing the guys say that they needed more space, I want to say it was a circle jerk show, but that doesn't also ring a bell. But at the same time, yeah, old white man, straight bands.
Yeah. We don't really think right off the bat, like, hey, no one on that stage looks like me. Or these lyrics aren't about me, it's to me as a woman, or whatever the situation may be. And like now, and over the past, I would say 10 plus years, we've seen such a pushback and such kind of a breaking off of everyone else besides the white dudes that want to basically have representation. They've, you know, just like this country, like they've been they're part of the population. They want to take their message to the stage. If they're part of the group, they deserve to share what they have to say and their experiences. And when they do that, it's bizarre because it still feels othered. Like, even when you were explaining, like, Dollfest, I didn't go to the first year. I wasn't able to make it. I wanted to. The lineup was phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. And it's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you.
I don't.
That's fine, Rich. I don't need you to.
That's fair.
But just even the idea, like, as you were talking about what you were trying to cultivate with the sense of community and just like walking in and seeing someone who represents you more so than some other shows, I'm like, man, that's such a cool experience. I've had that before. I've had those few experiences where I was able to walk in and see a band made up of like all femmes or a femme, you know, someone who's sharing lyrics where I'm like, yeah, I get that. And that to me is such a small experience compared to the years and decades that I've spent at punk shows. That's an othered experience to me. And it really doesn't need to be. And it's getting to the point where it's not as much. And I think Rich and I always talk about like the new younger generation and how like forward they are with fucking everything. Like, good for them. Like, they're where we are now in 30s and 40s. They're at that like 15 years old. So, which is great. So, like, they're walking into a very different scene than what we were brought up on. But, like, for us, it's still, I guess, in a way, it's exciting, yet it's off-putting that Dollfest is kind of an outlier still. And it's 2025. Why? Like, it's great that it's there, but I'm mad about why.
And I definitely feel that same way. And you wouldn't know this by looking at me, but I'm actually Latina. So I'm half, but I'm like half first generation, you know, on my dad's side. And even though like he and I are not close, I'm still like very, very proud to have that as part of my life and my culture and still learning about it like as much as I can. And I've had some very weird conversations with people in and out of the music scene when it comes to, you know, women of color. And I love being able to surprise them with that because the tone sometimes changes. And on top of that, also, when they find out how old I am, because I have baby face, which I'm very aware of. No, I don't necessarily love, but also don't hate the fact that I still look like I'm in my early mid-20s. But I'm 36. I'm, you know, formally educated. And you can even see like, and all of these conversations are specifically with men or very conservative white women. And you can just tell like their tones change every single time when they find out that they've been saying something, you know, semi-hateful or like teetering on that or acting very ageist towards me. And that is also something that I want to be able to get rid of, you know, with the Dollfest fam. I mean, the band The Dollheads just absolutely crushed it. There's like a handful of bands that I get. I mean, everyone loved every single band, but there's like some in particular that just get really high amounts of compliments. And the Dollheads are definitely one of them because, you know, they were still in high school when they performed in March. And they play like they've been playing as long as they've been alive. And it's so incredible and so amazing. And one of the bands that played pre-fest also, you know, between 18 and 19, I think maybe now one of them is 20 or something. But again, also still playing. Like they have been playing like as long as they have been alive. And it's so beautiful and so incredible. And we need to continue encouraging this. There is a photo that Courtney from Tsunami Bomb has where she's like pointing at the camera, and it's so cool because it's like, how cool would that be to watch someone who looks like you when you were young pointing at you and singing to you? I mean, how freaking cool is that? I'm not saying everyone has to join a band or be in the music industry. God, I mean, it's so saturated, but you know what? If you have a good head on your shoulders and you don't mind being told no a lot, come join us. Come join, you know, the cult. But it does so much for kids. And as someone who is like in education for my day job, kids need things like this. Kids they don't always like hear about things like self-esteem, or they hear it, but they're not listening. Again, kind of the same concept. But being able to experience things like that is so important. All ages things with kids to help them get inspired to be just loved and accepted and be in a safe space on top of that. So,
well, and also talking to friends of mine who are teachers and work in the school system and stuff, all of these programs are getting cut. Music programs, art programs. So it's important to have that sort of outside thing to sort of show them, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the school band. Like, look at this cool shit that's happening at this like VFW hall in your town, or like this coffee shop. There's people your age who are playing music and could be hugely impactful to a young person.
Not only are programs being cut from schools, but all ages spaces are shutting down left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it breaks my heart to hear about, like when a really famous, bar that has had such an impact in the music community, like anywhere in the world, gets up being closed. But we need more of these all ages venues, because not only that, I mean, kids need stuff to do. I didn't have shit to do. I mean, I grew up in Stockton. I think anyone would ask me, what do you do out there? I'm like, I leave.
I go somewhere else.
I was lucky that I had theater growing up, like from age 8 till I was like outside of high school, and like went to an acting conservatory like a couple years after high school. I mean, that's what I had. But not everybody has opportunities like that. And, single moms who just like pay other people to, raise you and teach you all these activities and things like that. We need more accessible things for kids so that they have stuff to do. And I'm not going to be that person that's like, it keeps them off the streets. They're going to go on the streets whether they like it or not, but at least they get to do something cool in between that time. Or maybe it will keep them off the streets. I don't know. I'm not their mom.
More so than I think any other genre, if you want to, punk, rock, indie, whatever, DIY type music, is that it's so versatile. You have a garage, you have a basement, you have a backyard, you have a band. And you got a show. I mean, it's not something where it has the structure and the requirements that some of the other genres have, where you need to have enough space to have, 5 or 6. Well, ska has like 6 or 7 people.
I was going to say, are you going to talk about ska bands?
Like a proper ska band has at least a minimum of 6 to 7.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But you don't have to have, ska's like punk adjacent, right? They're like
totally
cousins.
Is. I agree, but now I hope that there is a ska band that comes out of a high school, because I would love to see that.
Yeah.
That was my first band, and I was in high school in the 90s, so it made sense.
Oh yeah. Took me a long time to come around to ska. And then I was at it was the Berkeley to Boston tour that, Dropkick Murphys and Rancid do pretty regularly. And it was the year that the Selector went on tour with them. And I was like, oh, I get it. It was 2017, I think. Yeah.
There's an amazing documentary. It's not out yet, but it will hopefully be out in the next year, about Pauline Black from the Selector.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
It is incredible. She is such an amazing person, and
I know
the amount of stuff that she had to sort of go through and put up with as
it is like so heartbreaking.
A woman of color in that scene at that time in the 70s.
In a country that is also pretty freaking racist.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, no. I have so much respect for her, because honestly, if I was her, I probably would have given up. And someone else who's kind of in that same ska space is Jenny Wu. I don't know if Jenny has experienced the amount of racism as Pauline did, but she does definitely talk about when I saw her set at Rebellion in 2024 that she was told no a lot because she was a woman.
Since we are talking so much about the idea of femmes walking into a space and seeing people represent them on stage or through lyrics and how important that is, I do also kind of want to talk to the opposition of that, which is when you have people who look different than the rest of everyone else on stage, then you're exposing everyone else to those life experiences of what those people have lived through, what they're writing about. When you have them at the merge table, and now I think more so than ever before, we're starting to get more stories and have a richer, more comprehensive understanding of the different people that are actually making up this scene and have for a very long time.
As someone who is the mid-40s straight white male punk dude, when I was growing up, all I did was see myself represented in all of these bands, especially in that 90s like Epitaph Fat Records era. That was all white dudes who are a little bit older than me.
Did you ever realize it? Were you cognizant at any point being like, everyone here is just a me and there's someone else who doesn't look like me? Why are they here? Like, did you ever have that kind of like detachment?
I did when I would see a band like Dance Hall Crashers or Naked Aggression, or when I started getting into like X-Ray Specs and the Slits. Like then it was sort of like oh yeah, it's not just people like me. Or I bring this up all the time, and I did earlier, that 7 Second song, Not Just Boys Fun. It was like, yeah, it's not just for dudes like me, it's for everyone.
I love when bands say like, let's do like a girl pit, and the size of the audience doesn't really shift because there's so few femmes who were like in this and also feel safe to do this. Mm-hmm. But then if you probably say all white boys to it, it would just be like 50% or more of your audience.
Yeah.
They're like, we're already here. We don't have to move.
Yeah, exactly.
No one moves.
Totally.
Exactly. And that's another reason why, I really am encouraging this Dollfest fam community, is because there's so many people, I think, who are even intimidated to go to shows because they, as an attendee, are also not a straight white male.
Yeah, somehow I think we've gotten it. Well, not somehow. We talked about how, like, through consistent experience, we've gotten it into our either conscious or subconscious mentality that, like, if you're not this, then you're that. And being that makes you othered. And in a place where punk is supposed to be there for you through thick and thin, and it's supposed to be supportive, and it's supposed to be, faceless and colorless and genderless, it's not really serving that purpose. In at least today's society, where so many things now come with all of those qualifiers, we have to find a way to make it more inclusive. And I think, to Rich's experience and point, he didn't come to those realizations of, hey, everyone looks like me, until he started to see people on stage that didn't look like him. So I think through things like Dollfest, through shows where bands, straight, white, mega, Epitaph, Hellcat, whoever, festival-laden bands, put people on stage, besides the Linda Lindas, they're great, but, like, they're fine right now. They're great, but, like, they're doing just fine. We need someone from, like, who's not doing as well, who needs a little helping hand to pull them up a little bit more.
Yes, agreed.
Until you bring those people onto the stage, there are a lot of people in the crowd who may not have that epiphany until that happens. And then they realize what Rich did, which is like, oh, like 75% of what I listen to is dude music. And then there's a bunch of other stuff outside dude music. And now my world just expanded like exponentially because there's a bunch of punk and ska here that is different. Okay.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say the term dude music, because I went to a show, I think last month, and it was, like a lot of, all white man bands playing or whatever, which, like, again, they're there. Some of them are really, excellent and wonderful. And it was such a wonderful event because everyone was like, Fuck Ice and, ACAB and stuff like that. So it was like, we were all there in solidarity. But I remember saying to a friend of mine, I listen to so much femme-fronted music these days. I forget that boys sing too.
The opposite has occurred. It's exactly the right tract.
That is great.
We're all great too. It was just like the best part, but I was like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Well, and I will say that I know there are people booking shows who are at the point now where they will not book a show if it's like 4 all white dude bands. Like, they're just not interested. It's like, no, we need some kind of diversity going on here. No one wants to see this. No one wants to see a bunch of dudes playing the same music.
Right. Because it's just going to be monotone. And that's what I love about the Bay Area, is that it is such a diverse, like, rich place culturally, and same with the music scene. I mean, there are so many amazing bands of folks who are of every gender identification, every nationality, and they're just going out there and crushing it, and it's just so cool to see. And they're like in the best, like most exciting way, like invading this punk space that has always been white, and it's so freaking cool to see. And that's just how the Bay Area has been for as far as I've been exposed, going back and forth to it since 2019 is when I really started coming back and forth to the Bay Area, but not as heavily as I did obviously this last year.
I do want to add something, Rich, to what you had just said, where you're like, no one wants to hear this. Not true. There's a bunch of people that are really okay with this music
That's
that
true.
they've grown up on. So I think it really comes down to the artists or the bookers or the promoters in a lot of ways to realize that everyone here has some sort of handle on what happens with the future of music. And that if you realize, okay, we could make a bill of Bad Religion, Dropkick, and I don't know, Rancid. Circle jerks. Okay, that's like half of punk rock bowling, but it's the same people that show up to the same
Descendants.
shows. Descendants, yeah, all's gonna be there.
Adolescent.
I get it. Yes. So it's gonna be the same guys that are the same crew that comes out, not always men. But if hey, I'm gonna be playing this big show, and it's us, it's Bad Religion or Rancid. Okay, maybe it's up to one of those bands or both to decide we need to get some local talent. We need to get someone, it doesn't have to be tiny basement. Not that there's a lot of basements in California. There's not, tiny backyard, DIY. I saw this person or this group play a show twice. It could be mid-level, but they do need to have representation because it is up to bands as well to bring these people up on stage and to give them a voice. Because Rich, what you said, comfort is comfortable, right? It's so easy to just listen to the same 3 Rancid albums for the rest of your life and probably nothing else, and then go see Rancid. And then all of a sudden, they're offering you something new. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you do. Maybe you just bought an album because you were drunk, and now you have to listen to it on the way home, which you shouldn't be driving because you're drunk. But maybe
they're driving hungover. There we go.
Next
day, they're driving hungover.
Yes, and then they turn their car on, and there's a CD in there, and they don't even remember buying it, and they're like, wow, this band fucks so hard. And then that band has 3 friend bands that they always book, and now you learn that because you follow them on Facebook or on other social medias, and then your world expands. And I've never quite understood the people who find the 3 headline bands and just stick with those and never want to expand their musical taste, because there's also, if you like Bad Religion, there's 300 bands that sound just like them, and you can see them for $5 down the street. Why wouldn't you want to go see those bands too? Because then you might find out about more bands, and then you're going to expand to see more bands, and eventually, aren't we all just trying to go to a bunch of shows anyway? Isn't that what this whole life is about?
Well, and to clarify my previous statement,
all right.
It is mostly younger people who are younger promoters who are doing this, who will not book all dude bands. I know there are plenty of people, but I'm not interested in seeing like we said, fucking Dropkick Murphys, Pennywise, The Descendants, that's a
for the
boring
5th time.
Yeah, that's a boring package tour to me.
Yeah.
I remember there was one year in particular that Punk Rock Bowling got a lot of hate, and I noticed that it was one of the years where they had more femme-fronted bands than ever. And, all the old punks are this is the worst lineup ever. And in my opinion, I was this is the best lineup. These bands are so good and fuck so hard and play so well. Why are you mad? Why are you jealous that you can't play the guitar as well as she can?
We have this in our group text, in the Enough group text. Anytime a big festival announces its lineup, like Punk Rock Bowling or Riot Fest or Fest or whatever, it's always, let's play the how many women or non-white dudes are on the lineup.
Yeah.
And the percentage is never very high.
There is an Instagram account called Book More Women, and they literally do that. They literally count the amount of women that are in that and I don't know if they include dude bands that have, like their bassist is a femme or like their drummer is, but I know they definitely count the all femme or like the femme fronted. And I mean, yeah, it's like atrociously low. I know quite a lot of like straight white men who are musicians and they're in the scene. And there are only a handful that I know that are not afraid to get on that mic and speak up for the marginalized. And they do it at every show. Out of any of you straight white dudes that are listening to this, which I hope you are, please do not be afraid to speak out about the marginalized, because we can only do it so much to where it just sounds like white noise. We need our allies more than ever before right now. And not to sound like a broken record, on the leftist politics side, but we really fucking need it more than ever, because right now, every single person who is not a straight white male, they are trying to destroy us in some type of way and destroy our work and erase us almost practically from history. So please don't be afraid to say anything. Don't be afraid that, like your friends are going to call you pussies or something like that in a negative way. You know what? If that's what you're thinking, those aren't your friends.
I feel like now more than ever, the entirety of the country, and I can't speak for the world, but it seems like there's a lot of shit going on in a lot of places right now. There is a dire need to fight and to stand up and to speak out about what's going on in your community, in your city, in your state, in your country, in your world, whatever that means. And if anyone should be leading that fight, it's the people that decide that they want to basically be othered because they stand up and out for people. You should always feel the need and desire to basically take the mic and run with it and speak for the people that require some voice and some spotlight on them when they can't do it themselves. They need that support, and we need that so much more now than we have in a really long time, like you said.
We talked about this with a previous guest. In the 60s, bands like Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead and Janis Joplin, they were speaking out against the Vietnam War, and it wasn't them specifically that ended the war, but it was a rallying cry for a lot of people to get behind that. And it feels like we're in a similar situation now. We just maybe don't necessarily have a Janis Joplin or MC5 to rally the people, but there's a lot of these like smaller sects of people who are
it doesn't have to be someone who, is gracing the stages of Woodstock.
Right.
I mean, it can be from a basement or a backyard. Mm-hmm. As long as you're making the comments and you're speaking out, you're sharing those ideas with people who may have felt the feelings but have never acquired the words that attach to them, and now you're giving them those thoughts in words, and they're able to turn around and express that to someone else who's going to express that to someone else. And that's how revolution happens.
Yep. 100,000 small voices, quote unquote, is the equivalent to one big voice.
Yep. All of this is super inspirational.
You're going to pivot really hard, I can tell.
I'm going to pivot so fucking hard right now.
You're going to pivot so hard.
Okay, Ross from season whatever on Friends.
Pivot. I think we can all agree that it is the responsibility of all of us communally to speak out or speak up when allegations against artists come out. When it comes to the role of festivals specifically, can you talk a little bit about what you feel the role there is when it comes to allegations of assault, harassment?
Yeah.
It's a big question.
Yeah. I didn't know that this had happened for a very long time. I had, when I was younger, comments get made, things like that, not really a whole lot of like physical inappropriateness. I was very lucky in that sense. And until I was in a relationship with the person I had mentioned before, it was my going away party, and I do not remember leaving the bar, but I woke up and he and I were intimate, and I did not know what that was for a very, very long time until I started kind of reading into like what it could be. And then when I shared it with maybe like one or two people, they told me what that is, that that's rape. And I always didn't feel good about that. I always just felt like something was off, and kind of even like gaslit my own self to thinking like, well, we were together, like I must have, but you don't always. And there's an ex of his that has kind of become, she does go in a very aggressive way to try to reach out to people to say things. And I even feel like the entire community out there was gaslit to thinking that that wasn't true. And once I realized what had happened with me, it's the first time I've ever realized that I believe her. And moving forward from now on, if there's ever any sort of accusation with anyone who plays in Dollfest, don't even bother showing up. Because no matter how much evidence you can find against somebody,
Maria, you're so powerful. I just want to give you a giant hug. Oh my God, I just want to be like, come here. If it's consensual, I will hug you. Oh my gosh. It's okay. Let it out. It's so hard when it comes to the surface, and then you say the words, and then you feel them with such like thickness as they come out of your mouth. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And your cats and the dog are right outside the door loving you.
Oh, I keep hearing them. They are just like practically banging at the door right now. And it's like, I even brought it up to him one time, and he was like, I didn't know. And of course, I'm sure this will be denied true and through. I have no doubt about it, but
depending on your age, and you fall within the me-rich age realm, we weren't taught consent. We were not specifically taught what consent was, and that you need to give consent every single time, even if you're in a relationship. Unless you want to come up with a way where you say, this, except these times, or whatever the situation is, you have to come up with something, because otherwise there's a gray area. And I've had my own situations similar to yours where I didn't know. We're together. Why would that not be okay? Because I was blacked out and I was throwing up while I was on my side. You think that's something? Like, really? That's not, what are you talking about? And it's so infuriating in so many ways, because we live in a culture that doesn't prepare people to have these conversations. And because we don't have these conversations, if you're not confronted with this information, you may not have an understanding that your reality is not always someone else's reality or the overall reality of what happened. Someone else is living in a very different reality than yours. Not that that's good or bad, but if they're sober and you're blacked out, that's not the same reality. And the results are not going to be the same thing. And everyone holds responsibility for their actions. Don't deny people their reality. You don't get to gaslight people and say, no, that's not what you experienced. Or, it's okay, cuz. Fuck off with that.
In addition to not being taught consent when we were growing up, a lot of what we were taught about this was a stranger pulling you into a dark alley. And yes, that happens, but the majority of the time that someone is assaulted or raped, it's someone that they know. And that is not a conversation that we ever really had. When you were, so another question about the festival for you. When you were kind of decided you wanted to do this, did you have a wish list of bands? And if so, how many of those bands were you able to get? And how many are you still working on as like
Bad Religion, Rancid, Circle Jerk,
Murphys, Descendants, Adolescents. My problem with me is that when I was, talking to the girls who were helping with all of this in the beginning, they said, put down 20 bands that you want to book. I think I wrote down 56.
Nice.
Yeah.
That just means you're well versed in good music.
I hope so. I hope I can continue. I hope I can continue that because, yeah, I got a lot of compliments on that. And that definitely also was not me as well. Like, I even got to learn about a couple of these other bands, like from some of the girls. And I mean, again, I never did any of this by myself. And, you know, even to this day, I still am like, hey, what do you think about this band? I don't want to pick these bands just because I like them. I want to pick these bands because the audience is going to enjoy them, whether it's the first time they've heard them or it's like their 17th time seeing them, or this band is so rad and doesn't get enough space because they're probably femme-fronted or, you know, BIPOC, queer, whatever you have it, because so many of these other festivals don't give bands a chance. And, you know, we didn't sell as many tickets as I think we were hoping to. And I think it's because a lot of people are like, yeah, I've heard of this band maybe like once in my life, and it's because they haven't been given a proper platform. And I hope that, you know, one of these days, Dollfest can just be something that you just buy your tickets to. You don't even care who's playing. You just know that you're going to have a good time and listen to awesome music. And that, you know, right now we're like not submission based, you know, for like a number of reasons, just kind of trying to build everything up. And then eventually that knowing that you're going to have a good time and it's going to be fun and you're going to love everything and just be able to have like, you know, hundreds of bands like submit and say like, oh man, we got to book them. Like they're so good. Like, why do they only have like 2,000 followers? They need to have like 20,000, like, you know, 20 to 200,000 followers and, you know, whatnot. So that is definitely a goal of mine. And also maybe if we could go outside at some point, but March in the Bay is a little, it could be rainy. It could be sunny.
Before we break, for the 2026 year, if you could have any band headline, who would it be? Just one. You can only pick one.
You know, I said the Selector earlier was the band that helped change my mind about ska. They would absolutely be a dream headliner. I have emailed their agent before. They never replied back to me. They probably need a higher amount of money than I could probably pay them right now, which is absolutely understandable and absolutely like reasonable and deserved. Yes, because Pauline is absolutely amazing. And Pauline Black is like such an inspiration to me because, you know, her amongst so many other women in the industry have just haven't taken no as an answer. And that's kind of another reason why Dollfest was even created, is because I had so many people like sort of like not give me a chance to like do things or, you know, try things out or whatever, or like even me trying to do my own thing wasn't super successful. And I don't know, it just the right time and the right place and the right people just sort of all came together. And yeah, Pauline, call me.
And I know you're going to have some announcements coming up about the lineup and tickets and all of that in the near future. Can you let everyone know where they can find Dollfest online?
Yeah, social media, we have our main one is Instagram. It's just Dollfest on Instagram. We do have a website. It's dollfest.net, which is, you know, fairly, you know, updated fairly regularly. We just, you know, a lot of things are focused more on Instagram. So just because that's what all the kids use these days.
Enough is a podcast centering on surviving abuse, harassment, and assault in the music scene. To help get the word out, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. In 2025, we are interested in talking to teachers, authors, artists, activists, counselors, community organizers, and anyone else who is dedicated to making a positive impact in their music community and our society as a whole. If that sounds like you, please reach out to us at thisisenoughpodcast@gmail.com.